about the do's and don'ts of Facebook ad campaign duplication. Now, lots of Facebook advertisers try duplicating campaigns to help improve performance. There are times when you do want to do that, times when you don't want to do that, and that's what I'm going to be covering in this video. Now, before I get into that, I just want to very quickly ask for you to smash a like on this video, click that like button, that'd be much appreciated, and of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new and haven't done so already. Okay, so Facebook ad campaign duplication as a tactic to try and get better results. Do I like it? Do I not? I'm going to go through that and go through some of the specifics. I'm in an example Facebook ad account, as I often am in my videos, and I've got an example ad campaign here, and I'm going to go and run through the sort of scenarios where people will want to load up and click that duplicate button right there and go with basically a new version of the same campaign or a similar version at least. Okay, so the first one that people always often talk about when they want to duplicate a campaign is when they want to scale. So let's say, for example, you've got a campaign that's performing really well, you're spending $100 a day, maybe less, maybe more, and you're going, okay, I'm time to scale this. So what they'll do is they will duplicate their existing campaign. Let's say this example ad campaign here was performing well. They would duplicate that campaign. They would then create a new, the duplicate version, so the newer version, they'd increase the budget, let's say from $100 a day to $200 a day, something like that. They would pause the previous one, and that's how they'd go about doing it. I'm not a big fan of duplicating campaigns for scaling specifically. I think that you are going to miss out on the learning that has taken place in your original campaign. Now, you need to remember that if you're duplicating a campaign, if you're wanting to scale a campaign, I should be clear, it's likely that that campaign has already delivered good results. Otherwise, why would you be looking to scale? I don't recommend that anyone scale unless they've got a Facebook ad campaign that is already delivering a cost per purchase or a cost per lead that is at least acceptable, at least profitable for you, okay? So if you've got a campaign that's reached that stage, it's obviously doing something right. And it will have been through the learning phase, most likely. Facebook will have optimized that campaign. You may have optimized that campaign, making adjustments yourself. If you duplicate that campaign that's doing well and run with a new one instead of just running with the existing, you're going to have to go through some of that learning all over again. So I don't think the performance from the duplicated version will be as good, especially early on, as if you just keep the existing campaign that's already performed well and increase the budget on that. We know that Facebook ad campaigns perform best with consistency. So having the one campaign as opposed to, you don't want to be a scenario where you're having one campaign at $100, duplicating it $200 a day, a week later duplicating it again, and they've got a new version at $300 a day. I think you're really going to run into some problems with that. So the lack of consistency and the lack of learning that you're able to benefit from in the existing campaign is why I don't like to do it when scaling. Now, interestingly, and this was highlighted to me the other day by someone in my Facebook ads mastermind group, and it's something that I've heard as well, is that Facebook reps have recently been recommending that you duplicate Facebook ad campaigns when you do scale, basically the opposite of the advice that I've just given. Now, we've tested this and we found better results from just increasing the budget as I described, as opposed to duplicating when you want to scale and putting a larger budget into the new campaign. But it's something to keep an eye on, and I will update people on this, because if this changes over the next, say, 6 months, 12 months, which it may well do, maybe why Facebook's putting out information about this, then I will definitely let you guys know and update you on that. But for the time being, I would not recommend duplicating campaigns when you want to scale. Okay, one of the other major times where someone will look to duplicate a campaign is when results drop off. Okay, now there can be many reasons why results drop off. You may have a campaign that's performing really well for a month, 6 weeks, 2 months, 6 months, a year, maybe longer, depending on how you've got your campaign set up. And people will try and duplicate the campaign because they hope it will sort of breathe it back into life. It will help improve performance. It will sort of kick it out of what it's dropped off into. Now, will that work, won't that work, and should you do it? It really depends why your campaign dropped off in the first place, okay? If your campaign performance dropped off because of ad fatigue, so basically your audience have become bored with your ads, then just duplicating it is not going to help, because your audience have become bored of your ads. Just running the exact same campaign but in a new duplicated version is not going to do it, okay? You need to do other things to combat that ad fatigue, and I wouldn't recommend it in that scenario. I'd recommend focusing on those other things like new ad creative, like adding in new target audiences, making adjustments to your campaign to freshen it up. I've got a whole video about how to overcome Facebook ad fatigue. So if you're interested in that, you have seen campaigns drop off and you're wondering if duplication is the right way to go, I don't think it is if you've got ad fatigue. And I'll show you how to identify ad fatigue as well. So I'll include a link to that video in the description of this video, all about how to overcome ad fatigue, identify it, things like that. Okay. So if that's why your campaign has dropped off in terms of performance, ad fatigue, campaign duplication is not a good strategy. That's not going to do it for you. If you're duplicating results, if you're duplicating your campaign because you have heard about this thing called the pocket theory. So the pocket theory, basically, to explain it in short, is whereby people think that when you first launch a Facebook ad campaign, Facebook will basically choose a pocket of your target audience. They will advertise to that pocket exclusively. And if you therefore create a number of different versions of the same campaign, you will hit different pockets within your target audiences. And one of those, let's say 5 variations, may just land on the right pocket and produce the best results. And therefore, if your campaign's not working, you should duplicate it, try again. If that doesn't work, duplicate it, try again. I have heard this talked about. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't really think, Facebook doesn't divulge a huge amount of information about exactly how it works in terms of how they select people within the target audience, but that just doesn't ring true to me. You have to remember that at the end of the day, Facebook is wanting to get all their advertisers the best results possible, because if you get great results as an advertiser, you're going to spend more on the platform. And that's what Facebook's algorithm and delivery method and all that stuff is really trying to work out. So one of the things that Facebook's going to do is, let's say you give it a target audience of 1 million or 2 million people. Well, Facebook's going to try and find the people within that audience that are most likely to take your desired action, because that's how they get your results and that's how they get more money out of you as an advertiser. The pocket theory just does it. If that's how they really did things, it wouldn't help Facebook. It wouldn't help us advertisers, and it wouldn't help Facebook. Okay, so I don't think that's what's going on. I don't think the pocket theory is really a thing, and I don't think that, therefore, if your results are just not good, let's say you run a new campaign for 2 weeks, results aren't great, I don't think that just duplicating that campaign there and then is going to help improve those results at all. It just doesn't seem to match up logically to me. It's not something I've seen in testing. I think the reason why people come up with these theories and what happens is they're effectively being fooled by random events or other events. So, for example, you may have run a campaign and it worked really well, okay? And then all of a sudden it drops off, and then you duplicate the campaign and the new version works really well. And you think, aha, duplication is the way to go. You could ascribe to the pocket theory or something like that. But what other factors are involved in that? Well, there's obviously time as a minimum. Could it be that your results really dropped off during August, which is when I'm recording this video? August, lots of people are away on vacation, a lot of Facebook ad results drop off, and then you duplicated it 1st of September and it really took off because, that's the month of September is often a better month to advertise in for a lot of Facebook advertisers, as opposed to, let's say, the last part of August where people are away a lot. So, and you could think that the reason why your results improved was because of the campaign duplication, when in fact, the results just improved because of the time of the year. It just happened to coincide with that. So there are all sorts of random events. Depending on where you are and what you offer, could it have been better weather when you ran a new duplicated campaign? That can have a big impact on certain things. Could the news cycle have not been dominated by, particularly all the things that have been going on this year? That can have a big impact on your results. Remember, when you're running a Facebook ad campaign, you're advertising to real people. If it's a heat wave and the hottest summer you've ever had, well, depending on what you offer, that is going to have an impact if you're advertising in that country. If we go into a global pandemic or, there's lockdowns, these things have an impact. So try not to just think of a technique like duplication as being the answer or the cause always when you're doing those things of improving or worsening results, and think, okay, well, what else is going on? What else could be the issue there? Okay, so I kind of went down a bit of a tangent there, but I think it's important. So those are some scenarios in which I don't like campaign duplication. Basically, from what you've seen so far, you're probably thinking, well, do I ever like campaign duplication? And the answer is yes, and we basically reserve it for one quite specific scenario. Sometimes Facebook ad campaigns seem to get stuck, okay? They just seem to stop performing, not operate like they should. And I'm not talking about just results dropping off. As I said, that could be a whole lot of other issues. I'm talking about things where you introduce a new ad set or you introduce a new ad and it gets no impressions. Facebook doesn't put any budget whatsoever into the new ad or new ad set. You're thinking, well, that doesn't sound right. That looks a bit like a technical glitch to me. We know that Facebook Ads Manager is quite glitchy. Their delivery mechanisms don't have as many issues, but I think have a few little issues in there as well. So if you see that sort of thing, you're like, well, I've added a new ad set, I've got CPO turned on. Facebook should have at least tried it, at least give it some budget, like they usually would. No budget at all? Sounds like it's got stuck to me. Let's say an ad or a series of ads in a campaign just won't go through the approval process. Like it's just in review for just ages. Okay, again, another sort of technical glitch. One of the common times where we see those sorts of issues and those sorts of glitches happen is after a campaign has had a lot of ads disapproved. Now, unfortunately, us, like most Facebook advertisers, we get ads disapproved all the time. Almost never do those ads remain disapproved when we request a review. So obviously their disapproval algorithms are just terrible. I mean, please, Facebook, go ahead and fix that stuff. Stop messing around with the interface and just fix your approval mechanism. Because the amount of times we have ads disapproved, you request a review, a human takes a look, and they're approved, a few hours later, and you think, well, come on, just let us run the ads. But once a campaign has had loads of ads disapproved, it seems to cause a bit of an issue. Things get stuck, they don't quite deliver right. So once a campaign has had lots of ad disapprovals, or once we start to see things like we introduced new ads and it just didn't run at all, like everything looks like it should be fine, but just no impressions. The ad set, just no impressions. Facebook's not putting any budget behind it. Perhaps the ads are stuck in the review process for days. Okay, we think there's a bit of a technical issue going on with this campaign, there's a delivery problem. That is when we will duplicate. And that's actually really important when you're running as many campaigns as we are for as many clients. That happens more often than you think, okay? So when something just gets stuck, you just can't understand why it's not performing, not really delivering elements. And usually when a campaign is in that mode, when ads are stuck in review, when an ad set is not delivering, the rest of the campaign's not going to be performing very well. They seem to correlate, like your cost per purchase will have gone up, something like that. That's when I look to duplicate a campaign. The other time I duplicate campaigns and ad sets and ads is as an efficiency measure, as a time-saving device. So whenever we're creating new ads in an existing campaign, we're going to start by duplicating the existing ads because we may be only changing one element. We may be only changing the headline, the creative, something like that. And it's just time saving as opposed to creating a whole new ad or a whole new ad set. You just copy over all the settings, make a few adjustments, okay? And another thing I want to mention about duplication is that when we are, and because I get a lot of questions about this, let's say we've got a campaign, CBO campaign, 4 ad sets. 2 are performing well, 2 are not performing. We pause the 2 underperformers. We will then duplicate the 2 best performing ad sets and run, and then we'll make adjustments to the 2 best performing ad sets. We won't sort of run duplicates alongside each other. We'll make adjustments to the new ones, say we want to test new targeting options, and we will run those new ad sets alongside the best performers, the previous best performers, and we'll run that for a length of time, a week, 2 weeks, and then we will assess performance of those against each other. And we do the same with the ads, exact same process, okay? So I get some questions about that, so just wanted to quickly clear that up. Okay, hopefully that's been useful. Before you go, a couple of free things I want to quickly mention that I think you're going to find very, very interesting. The first is a free webinar called 3 Killer Facebook Ad Strategies to Double or More Your Revenue. And in this webinar, it's all about Facebook advertising sales funnels. So there's 3 that we use all the time as a Facebook ads agency. They deliver fantastic results. We've generated easily more than $1 million with each one for multiple clients. Strongly recommend you go ahead and check out that webinar, completely free. Link will be in the video description below. And what we do in that webinar is basically break down each one of these 3 sales funnels, and we show you exactly how they work and which one of those 3 or which 2 of those 3 you want to use depending on the products and services you offer, which is very important. There's no one size fits all when it comes to Facebook advertising. If you've got a $50 product, you need to use a different strategy to a $10,000 service, and we show you how to basically do that and set that up correctly in this webinar. So go ahead and check that out, completely free. The other free thing I want to talk about is my Facebook Ads Mastermind group. So as of the recording of this video, we've got about 43,000 members in there, one of the best and biggest Facebook advertising communities in the world, one of the biggest Facebook groups to do with Facebook advertising in the world. It's closely moderated, so there's no spam or anything like that. We put a lot of time and effort into making sure that it's a great community, and it really is. There's people asking questions, getting them answered by experts. Hundreds of those happening every single day. So if that sounds the sort of thing you want to be part of, again, link in the video description below, completely free to join. Go ahead and do so. We'd love to have you in there. And I do free weekly live trainings in there as well. So you can Q&A with me, you can get access to the exclusive content and all that stuff. So hopefully I'll see you in there. Hopefully I'll see you on the webinar as well. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. That'd be much appreciated. Please comment below to let me know if you've got any questions. Comment below to let me know if you enjoyed this. I'm not able to answer all the comments on my YouTube videos anymore, unfortunately. I just received too many. A good problem to have, but I was just spending too long on those. But I do see all the comments, and I do try to answer as many as I can. So yeah, there's a good chance you may well receive an answer. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more Facebook advertising related content that is released